Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another video on transformative dialogue. So today we're going to be talking about the third pillar of transformative dialogue, which is the ladder of abstraction. So what is the ladder of abstraction? The ladder of abstraction is a framework that helps us to think about the level of abstraction that's most helpful to have a conversation at. So as a mediator, one of the things I think a lot about when helping to resolve conflicts is the conversation around the conflict being had at the right level of abstraction? The right level of abstraction being the level of abstraction of the conversation where it's moving towards a resolution. So if the conversation is too abstract, with both sides throwing forth really unhelpful high-level talking points that have no specificity or detail, that's not helpful. And I call that getting lost in the clouds. You're lost in these overly abstract themes and talking points. If you get too specific and start disagreeing on really minute details of dates, times, and places and so forth, that's not helpful either. And I call that getting lost in the weeds. So the ladder of abstraction helps us to not get lost in the weeds and fight over kind of in unimportant details. And it also prevents us from not getting lost in the clouds or overly abstract remarks. So it gives us a framework to control the right level of abstraction of a conversation so that the conversation can be the most productive. What are some questions you can ask that help to move up and down the ladder of abstraction? Because moving up and down the ladder of abstraction helps to get people to think more fluidly or more flexibly about their perspective. So if someone is saying really high level talking points, let's say someone says America is a racist country. If you disagree with that statement, you don't want to push back and say, no, it's not. And then that creates a back and forth of yes, it is, no, it's not, yes, it is, no, it's not. Instead, say, yeah, what do you mean by racism? So when you're getting more specific with the definition, you move down the ladder of abstraction. You are asking for a more detailed, more specific, concrete example instead of just going back and forth with competing high level narratives, right? If you get lost in the weeds where you're talking, let's say, about a major event, let's say the war between Israel and Palestine, and people are arguing about specific facts, like, no, in 1981 this happened, or no, in 1977 this is how the negotiation went between. It's like, okay, we can argue about the details and facts all day long, but if there's a disagreement on that, it's helpful to often go back up the ladder of abstraction and ask something like, so what about that is important, right? What's the major point? What's the real idea or theme or important thing to understand behind that statistic or behind that fact? Because it's never about the concrete facts, right? It's about the concrete fact pointing to a deeper theme or argument or conclusion someone is trying to get across to you. So if you start getting fighting and getting stuck in the weeds, just move up the ladder of abstraction and say, what's the value behind that? What's important about that? Let's say that this fact is true. Why is it important for that? Why is it important to add that to the story? So this just ensures that you don't get stuck in the conversation. You can move up and down. And as someone once famously said, to be an effective speaker, you have to move up and down the ladder of abstraction. So it gives another framework to control the abstraction level of a conversation so the conversation can be the most productive and you don't get bogged down by minute factual details or overly abstract themes that no one understands, to prevent misunderstandings that occur from arguments over very high level concepts. Another example of using the ladder of abstraction is to take a polarized comment and to either abstract upwards or deconstruct it downwards to get more detailed. So let's take the whole controversy of critical race theory, or critical race theory being taught in schools. So if you start fighting over the word or the idea of critical race theory, there are two things you can do. You can move down the ladder of abstraction and get more specific and ask questions like, what do you mean by critical race theory? What would be an example of something that would reflect critical race theory ideas, right? What's a concrete practice or policy or institutional phenomena that would reflect critical race theory as the backdrop, right? So these are more specific questions where you're getting more concrete and more detailed. Or you could abstract upwards and say, well, critical race theory, we're talking about, let's say, systemic issues or racism. Let's abstract away from more polarized content and talk more generally about how discrimination operates, or how unfairness in society operates, or the dynamics between majority and minority groups, not only along racial lines, but it could even be along political and ideological lines as well. So this abstracting upwards can help to distill and extract important themes in the conversation without the specific polarized baggage attached to those themes. And this is why the ladder of abstraction can be so helpful. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope this was helpful and looking forward to seeing you back for the final aspect of transformative dialogue, which is complexity.